The world has been stuck with fossil fuels for years. The carbon spewing fuel, coal, gas, oil are still the biggest source of energy. Transport, manufacturing, construction, power industries are driven mainly by these. These sources, including nuclear, account for 75%, 3 by 4th of the power generation in the world. And Energy sector alone accounts for some 72% of world greenhouse gas emissions. So it's now time to kick out this dirty habit. Renewable energy, as you are all aware, is form of energy that is generated from the sources which replenish naturally. It is harnessed from different sources like solar, wind, water, biofuels, geothermal, marine energy. One common characteristic of these renewables is that these are all carbon neutral sources of energy. So historically, the world relied on biomass, as in wood, charcoal for energy needs, and with the discovery of these coal, oil, gas, the economies shifted to these flexible fuels for fulfilling their ever increasing energy demands. But the ill effects of these fuels as now very visible and climate change is a reality. Hence, we are now embracing change. We have entered into an era of energy transition. The shift to the renewables is evident, required. So, with falling prices, now renewable is commanding center stage in the world energy transition. Within the last decade, solar prices fell some 90%. Wind prices are down significantly. New avenues for offshore wind are becoming viable. Since 2011, the new installations in the world are dominated by renewables. And in 2019, the renewable accounted for 72% of the total installations. At the end of 2019, global renewable generation capacity was over 2,500 gigawatt. So this is close to 35% of total installed electricity capacity in the world, to give you an idea. Well, I would like to show you this graph from IRENA, the International Renewable Energy Agency, which sums up nicely the trend of non-RE installations and RE installations over the period over these years. And RE is constantly, remarkably, is on rise. So I'm going to share my screen here. So this shows that the RE percentage of RE in the new installation is constantly on rise, and last year it was 72%. Within RE, hydro accounts for the major chunk, about almost 63% of the renewable is from hydro, and these other non-hydro accounts for rest of it. But solar and wind are becoming more powerful, and last year alone, within RE, 90% of the installations were from solar and wind. If we go into how the generation is increasing for these sources, we can see that RE generation in last few decades has increased. So well, if I see the last year, the recent COVID-19 breakdown has shaken the world, all the industries, including renewable energy sector. Uh, the everything was affected, and the installations for 2020 dropped significantly. Projects are delayed, and the supply chains were affected. The finance cycles are disturbed, and it will have long-term repercussions. But there is a silver lining to it, and according to a BNEF report, the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic will save around 2.5 years worth of energy sector emissions due to stark drop in the energy demand between now and 2050. As I said, it has a long-term repercussion. So till 2050, the overall demand is low. The solar and wind installations in the first 8 months of the year 2020 have reached 67% of the new power capacity added globally in 2019, while the fossil fuels slide by 25%. So, despite all the industries and all, even the power sector got affected by COVID-19, the renewable energy sector is still resilient. And amid this health emergency and this induced chaos by COVID-19, the discussion around the glaring impending issue of climate change has strengthened. The experts are underlining the importance of building back the better world and how COVID-19 recovery stimulus packages should encompass support for carbon neutral technologies and renewable energy. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres said, and quoting him, we can go back to where we were and we can invest in a more sustainable future. We have a choice. He called for a clean energy future and to end new coal and external financing into developing world. Speaking at Clean Energy Transition Summit towards a sustainable recovery, organized by the International Energy Agency (IEA), a Paris-based autonomous intergovernmental organization. UN Secretary, he further said there that we can invest in fossil fuels that are volatile and lethal, or we can invest in renewable energy, which is reliable, clean, environmentally smart. So, despite these calls from experts, the recovery packages in, pardon my electricity situation, it's the UPS which is running behind me. Anyway, so despite these experts' calls, thus recovery packages in G20 countries have major support for fossil fuels. Over 55% of the committed value support fossil fuels. So low electricity demand in 2020 reduces need for firm power, piling pressure on old and less efficient coal plants, but there are still fewer retirements than newly commissioned capacity. The net addition of the coal-fired plants in 2019 rose for the first time in 5 years. So last year, and it was driven by an uptick in newly commissioned plants in India and China. So yeah, this is the ground situation. Despite this UN cry around climate change and renewable, we still have support to fossil fuels. But as a respite to all these activities, there is a light from other side of the tunnel. As more countries are announcing their net zero targets, biggest polluter, China, and other Asian giants, Japan, South Korea, have recently declared their ambitions for achieving net zero emissions. European Union was first party to this group. Given that energy sector is one of the major polluter, but also an engine to the growth and development. It is high time that the emissions are decoupled with energy and hence the development. Renewables fit in this solution. So in next video, we will see how different renewable technologies are faring, and till then, take care.